Hello everyone, welcome back to the Really Woke Show. I'm Really Woke Roxanne and I'm here with Stand Up for the Children, Jimmy. And there, just over to my left, is the amazing NOELHARRYWATSON. He's not in Malta, but we'll give you more on that in a moment. And below us here is Mr. Sleeping Warrior, who you can find on YouTube as well. His details will be in the description shortly. And to all of you in the chat room, thank you so much for tuning in. Even if you're not in the chat room and you're watching on the website right now, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're tuned in on Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in as well. Without further ado, guys, before I get to you all, there's a few people that have been in the chat room since 5:19 this afternoon. So thank you, William, for saying thank God it's Tuesday. Thank you so much to you for tuning in. Marilyn Wisby said, all right, Roxanne, you're wanted on Camelot channel. When you on, look forward to it. I couldn't make it Saturday. Oh, babe, I'm so sorry. Mwah. Sending you love and light, Marilyn. I hope everything's all right with you, my darling. And give us a shout if you need anything, sweetheart. We're always here for you. Massive love and respect to Marilyn. Marilyn has been out of Speaker's Corner for the last few years. In fact, I think she was one of the original ones that was out there speaking about some of these most contentious topics. She's like an OG in the activist game. So massive shout out to you, my darling. Z Proxy, shout out to you, my darling. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Anthony Burrows as well. Jonathan Hobbs. Lovely to see you as well. Steve Bailey says, hey, Roxanne, the NWO greatest advisory. Redneck Rebel as well. Lovely to see you as well. Underground, great to see you in the chat room. Thanks so much for tuning in. Vagabond, great to see you as well, my darling. And Marilyn's still there. Big hugs and kisses to you, sweetheart. Dean H, great to see you in the chat room. He says, hi all. Voice of Wales says, tell Brian the Swansea lot want to get in touch. Lovely, I will do, my darling. Marilyn Wisby is saying hi to everyone in the chat room. And Robin Hood, it's the first time I've seen that name in the chat room. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Real Alt World View, thank you so much for tuning in. I will get back to the chat room very, very shortly. Mwah! Near, my darling, from Esh News over in Israel. Great to see you. Shalom, everyone from Israel. Red Eye Jedi is in the chat room as well. Listening in evening all. Hope you are all well. We're all good, my darling. Hope everything's good with you. First Munch is there as well. Hi, my darling. Trying to make sure I got everyone. Maggie Ray from Memphis tuned in. Lovely to see you, my darling. Spursy. Lovely. You've got to love the trolls. You've got to love the trolls straight away. Shout out to StreamYards for this live stream as well. Letting us have the controls right here for all three streams. So batter up, trolls. We're ready for you. Right, without further ado, a lot has happened, my darlings, since we've last been live. Noel, this is the first time we've had you on in a while, and there's a million things that I want to ask you. Your video this week has taken some traction on Instagram. As soon as I saw it, I was like, finally, a report from the airport. Finally, a report from the airport. Finally, someone on the ground going, okay, these are little like third world problems in a first world country, but can we all just see what's going on here? Can we not just see how hypocritical this is? We've also got some clips surrounding that kind of situation there on the London Underground as well. Warrior has been an absolute warrior for the truth this week. And he's absolutely dissected some of the things that we came across in London over the weekend. We've had things going on in Devon, down in Exeter. We've had things going on in Cardiff. We've got Geza trailblazing across the country, going up to Edinburgh, over the borders and over to Sheffield. There's an incredible amount of activism going on across the country. And mainstream media are doing their absolute utmost to go like that. News values much? Fear-mongering much? I think so. So, Sleeping Warrior, we'll come to you in a second. Noli, you're on mute, my darling, so just remember to take yourself off mute. How are you? And welcome back on the Really Woke Show. It's been a little minute, my darling. How's everything going with you over there? And in a minute, he'll be able to tell us where he is when he brings himself off mute. It's all good. You've got to love it. Hello, darling.
Sorry, can't see the mute button when it's in profile, in landscape. Yes, I'm good. I am currently in Munich, Germany, or in the countryside near Munich, Germany. on a little birthday vacation to visit another single dad friend.
Happy birthday to
Thank you very much. It is kind of mad here. It seems like everyone thinks it's bullshit. DMO, everyone thinks it's bullshit, right? Yeah, he's not agreeing. But you have to comply. There's fines. You know, everyone's afraid of getting fined.
This is true. This is true. But we had a little green room chat. We're grateful for the green room opportunity to speak to people offline. And we had a lovely chat with your pal. And we can clearly see that people think this is BS. Without further ado, Riley, everyone in the chat room, Jimmy, Noel, if you're all right, if I quite quickly show your video, because there's not everyone that's tuned in. I just want to keep.
I would actually prefer it. I mean, I love the fact you're going to show it, but because I'm here with my friend. I'm going to pop back on later, but we're gonna. There's a couple. He hasn't seen Out Shadows yet, so I'm going to make sure he watches that tonight.
No worries. You do social and then come back on. But honestly, there's a lot of love for you in the chat room from everyone watching. Everyone loves and appreciates you. I know that a lot of people follow you now on Instagram, so they're managing to keep up with you and whatnot. So I'm loving that. Just keep doing what you're doing, and we will play the video. And yeah, we'll be on for about an hour or so anyway. So by all means, pop back on. All right, bud?
Marvelous. Thanks. All
right. So without further ado, I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to pop this video on, if that's all right with you, sweetie. And I'm going to show everybody what's been good with the whole airport situation with Noel going from Malta over to Germany.
So let's talk for a moment about the wonders of travel in the new normal world. So airport, all new kinds of draconian systems where you have to present all of your check-in details at the front entrance first. Then you go up to the counter, check in. I'd already checked in, but I was told because I had to rebook my flight because they accidentally cancelled it, that I had to go to the check-in counter. So go to check-in counter, hand over my details, they hand them back. Bearing in mind, this is a point of contact between you and every single other person who goes to that person. Then they give me a piece of paper, of which I got a second copy because I'm like that. I accept that I must advise Air Malta or my travel agent as soon as possible if any of the following statements apply, and if so, I must not report to the airport for my flight. I have been diagnosed with COVID-19 at any time during the 14 days prior to my flight. I have had any of the COVID-19 relevant symptoms: fever, newly developed cough, it's winter by the way, loss of taste, smell, cold season, shortness of breath, running around carrying bags. Any time during the 8 days prior to my flight. So I have not had shortness of breath at any time in 8 days. I mean, yeah, it's impossible. I have been in close contact less than 2 meters or more for more than 15 minutes with a person who has COVID-19 in the 14 days prior to my flight. I thought it had a 15-day incubation period, so theoretically for the last 14 days I could have been in contact with everyone who was infected, but they're still incubating. Anyway, I'm required by a local national regulations to be in quarantine for reasons related to COVID-19 for a period that includes the date of the flight. I have not resided for a minimum of 14 days in one of the safe corridor countries. I understand that I do not disclose accurate information on the airline, then my circumstances are identified at the airport, I may be refused travel. So basically this is I think it's basically a disclaimer so that no one can ever come back to them, because they were cramming people into the plane, although because I disputed this at the gate, I then got refused to board the plane and then told that if I wanted to not consent, I had to convince every other passenger on the plane that they accepted me getting on the plane without my consent. Yeah. Anyway, so then no one would sit next to me on the plane, which I guess was a blessing. Anyway, the only information I want is name, surname, Air Malta, booking reference, email address, mobile number, flight date, and residential address. These are all informations they have already, by the way. They have all this because I booked and required all this to book. So really the only relevance is that bit on the back where I'm basically saying I am to blame. But here's the problem. I exchanged my ticket with multiple people who touched every single other person's ticket, which means that every single person on that plane, regardless of the mask, has made a singular point of contact with each other. Now, I don't believe any of this. It's all nonsense. But that completely invalidates all of the procedures. I'm sat in a very nice, I think, Turkish place right now with guys behind the counter and not wearing masks. And I'm happy about that, because why the fuck should they? However, everyone is having to follow these retarded little spastic marks on the floor to keep you 1.5 meters apart. 1.5 meters here, There's, you know, different rules for different countries, and the virus works differently in different places. Drinking my first Coke in years. I'm on a sugar low. Get to the airport was shit. It was just a shitty day, all in all. Don't get me wrong, this is all extremely first world problems. But the amount of people on that plane, maybe 120, 130, the fear they had of me for standing my ground and saying I don't consent to this. Because if any one of those people gets sick, every person on that plane will probably have to receive some kind of contact to say that, sorry, you've been in within so many meters or not in a space with someone who has been reported to have COVID. That's a lot of people you can tell not to work at the beginning of flu, cold, pneumonia season. And considering they are not using an isolated test, that is testing for the corona family, this is nonsense. Take off your masks. I just took mine off in the restaurant because, by the way, like every retarded country in the EU, if you sit down, the virus can't get you. So let's talk for a moment about the wonders of travel.
Thank you for doing that, because it kind of just puts in a nutshell.
I was triggered.
No, it is. Well, it's ridiculous, though. It's literally ridiculous to talk to like a piece of SH1T, excuse my language, but you're spoken to like you've got the freaking lurgies, right? And people that have absolutely no authority are bossing people around like they're freaking cattle, right?
The situation
and woe
worse.
betide you. Woe betide
The Karens have taken over.
them back. Sorry, say that again. Karenism.
Karenism, yeah. The Karens have taken over and they are loving it.
Oh yeah, but can I just
Oh,
can
they
I
love
just
it.
can
They
I put a
absolutely
disclaimer
love
out here? I've got a mate called Karen. I have. I'm not going to lie. Karen B.
Everyone's got
right?
a friend called Karen.
Karen
Everyone's
B.
got a friend called Karen. Not
Karen
all Karens
B.
are Karens.
Karen B.
I want that on a t-shirt.
I love you, Karen B. I will always love you, and you will never be that Karen. Okay. I can't believe they hijacked your name, but I love you. Okay. I'm not talking about you. Listen. Mind out, Karen. Don't come for you with a bucky. You know?
We can change it to Sue if you want.
Sueism.
We're going to start running into a world of trouble here, just bringing up every
Sue.
name, and then we're going to be.
I know a Jane as well. Let's not do Jane Doe either, but Karen B. Shout out to Karen B. Okay, if you don't know who Karen B is, go over to her channel. Just write Karen B in the YouTube thing. Go and check her out. We love Karen. Am I on my own here? Riley, just start nodding your head. You love Karen.
We can just go back to Power Trippers if you want.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Carol Trippers.
Crazy. It's crazy. People make the situation worse. Like I said to you earlier, went in a pub the other day with my son. He's a little bit wild. He's running around the table, doing circles around the table. Only around my table, the bloke come over and said, "Excuse me, with the state things are in, your son needs to sit down." I said, "What? The 99.7 survival rate or whatever it is? That state are you talking about?" And he went, "Well, I'm not going to go into that." I said, "Oh, no, you're not, because you're enjoying this situation of telling people what to do and treating people like idiots." I said, "People like you make the situation a lot worse, and you're filling people with a lot more fear. It has a knock-on effect on everyone." And he left me alone then, and you know what I mean?
See, you have to. I know it sounds a bit cliche to say this, but you do have to stand up and speak out.
Yeah, of course you do.
You really do.
Of course you do.
Can we show you a clip of something that happened on London Underground the other day? Yeah, on Saturday. Do you want to give a shout out to these amazing individuals? All of them.
Who was it?
Joss, me.
And yes. Yes, my good friends was on the train on the other day. I've just seen the video today. Well done to you guys. We're going to show the video. Couple of members of Stand Up X. And
do you want to just give a shout to the amount of work they've done on the road?
Yes. Big outreach work they're doing. They're Foot Soldiers for Freedom. Sorry, that was the other group involved. So yeah, let's take a look at that and see what we think.
We'll have a look now. We'll still be on screen while we do this though, so you can see. You'll see.
Brother, that's gonna come. The uprising is already. You know what? There's over 400 doctors and scientists. There's over 400 doctors and scientists speaking out, but they would never give the media coverage. It's more than that.
8,000 medical professionals 4,000 doctors and scientists that are saying these restrictions don't make no sense. They're killing more people than they're saving.
Guys, what are we scared of?
Children getting beaten up in their own homes because of these restrictions because they can't go to school during this lockdown.
Guys, what we're scared of, man? What we're scared of? Honestly, what we're scared. Guys, we've been mass gathering since March when they tell us to stay home, stay safe. With old people from babies to old people to 94-year-old. They told us we would die in 2 weeks. Guys, when is it gonna end?
None of us even got a cough, even got slightly sick. Because we're interacting with people and we're building up our immune system. That's how immunology works.
You know why this? You know why they talk about the second wave, and the spike? You know what that means? In September, October, November, people usually get a cough. The weather changes. People usually get a cold. This is what they're using against us. Now they have soldiers going to your house to pay you £50 to take a test. Guys, when is this gonna stop?
Or at least not for another 6 months, because you know what, 300 MPs didn't even bother, they abstained from even voting whether to extend it or not. And then there was over 306 that decided to postpone to...
And I'll tell you something, there's not one hypocrite not in this train right now. Not one.
Everyone's gone to a...
Hold on, because you know what? They said, oh, it's okay for you to gather with 6 people. Even because they're your friends and you live with them. We all have friends and family. And we all have people that we live with. When you're around those people that you live with, do you wear a mask? Hell no. How do you know where those people go every day, every minute? Do you know their movement every minute? No, you don't. So you don't know if they got the virus. And you don't know if you got the virus. So we all being hypocrites. And we wear a mask now, but when we go home and we hang out with our friends, we don't wear the mask. We go inside of a supermarket and we touch items that's been touched by millions of other people. A human being natural reaction is to touch our skin. So even when you go and sanitize your hand and you kill the good bacteria in your hand, right? You go inside the shop and you touch the items that's been touched by millions of other people, and then you touch your skin. And then you come out and have the nerve to tell people why you're not wearing a mask. We are hypocrites and we need to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got another one here as well. But I'm just going to show you. It goes with it. It's a two-part.
Because we are 99%. Why are we fighting with each other?
Exactly.
Why are we allowing these people to let us fight with each other, guys?
Exactly.
Think about it.
About things that don't even make sense.
We can have a conversation about this. You understand? Why we go inside of a train station in a train and we look down dirty on somebody? So you don't even know if these people have money can buy a mask. I come from Jamaica, my family are poor. I come here at work to look after my family. Do you understand what I mean? They take away our jobs, they take away everything. Now they're trying to take away our freedom. All we're asking you guys to do is to think. But some of you guys come here, you get Europeanized, you get Westernized. You forgot where you come from. Right? You forgot. How was England built? England was built on other people's sweat and tears and blood. Right? Every one of us are one race. There's no black and white, there's one race. They're teaching us to hate each other. Are we allowing them to teach us to hate each other? Somebody like, people like us, we come and we speak and people look down on us like we're a piece of shit. Right? All we have to do is show love and compassion. Think for ourselves. All of these mainstream news, they're part of the agenda, guys.
100%.
Whether you're religious or not, because we're not a religious group. Some of us here are not religious, but we know what's going on. Read Revelations 13, verse 16 to 18. That scripture will tell you exactly that time. It's not a coincidence. It's telling you, if you don't have the mark, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to do anything.
The mark of the beast. That's what it is.
It's the mark of the beast, guys. It's not a conspiracy anymore. Why we keep walking around with a mask, scared? Huh? And then we go home and we go and hug our friends and family. How the hell do you know? We all have friends and family. It's logics and common sense at this point. Logics and common sense. Think about it. If it don't make sense, it's not true. You got these doctors like one named Hillary Jones. who is always on BBC.
Dr. Hillary, the same doctor who told you wearing a mask is dangerous and it's dangerous for your lungs.
Same doctor that told us
He's
that.
now telling you need to wear a mask. Matt Hancock told you don't wear a mask, guys. It will actually be counterproductive. It will make you spread the virus more. He's now telling you need to wear a mask.
Exactly.
It's obvious what's going on.
Guys, do not fear. Do not live in fear. Go home, hug your mom, hug your family, because they might be gone the next
long
day.
time.
Shout out to all of those people. Shout out to all of those people. Massive respect. All of those people on those carriages got royally woke up that day. Royally woke up. There's been a lot, as Sleeping Warrior is rubbing his face right now. The amount of things that this guy has had to come across over the last 48 hours has been utterly insane. A lot of people are saying a lot of things. There are a lot of things being said by the government right now. The news is panicking like Billy O. They're putting out conflicting reports almost on a minute-by-minute basis. They're now back to showing shots of people fighting corona in intensive care, fighting to breathe and everything, like doing the sky's falling tactic. It's a known playbook. Most of you that have done enough research will know that this has been played out in the past. Operation Mockingbird is in full effect by these people that have press passes that have been given the go-ahead by one of the amazing gatekeepers that gives them their rights to do what they're doing. Some of these people will probably be done for treason at the end of it. So I expect some mainstream media will be done for treason because what they're doing is criminal. But on top of that, we're seeing some things on the road that are really, really, really worrying. What went down at the weekend was abhorrent as far as I'm concerned. I was there, I filmed it, as many other amazing people were out doing that as well. But what I saw firsthand was wrong. It was wrong. This is where I'm going to bring you into the conversation, Anthony, because I really feel like what went down at the weekend was a straight up violation of Article 10, Article 11. You cannot arrest people for walking down the road and speaking their mind. You can't do that. You cannot do that. I'm going to walk down Richmond High Street and tell everyone they're being lied to, and then what they're going to do? Just plow 12 guys in on me and just take me out like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what they're going to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what they have been doing the
That's
last
what they've
couple
done
of
to
weeks.
Samantha this week. That's what they tried to do to Laurie. Wait, quick boots on the old foot there.
Oh,
she was
quality.
proper. She was proper like lightning, superwoman.
I think we need to go back to 26th of September where they did the Trafalgar Square march or the Trafalgar Square meet and remind ourselves what actually happened that day with regards to the police. They were given the command to use Section 3 force against protesters. They weren't being violent, they weren't rioting, they weren't looting, there weren't any kind of crimes going on.
Something's wrong with your mic. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Something's wrong with your mic. It's like blowing in and out. It went really loud and then really quiet.
That better?
Yep, perfect.
I think it was just I was a bit too far away from it. That's better. So let's remind ourselves what happened on the 26th. Trafalgar Square, 30, 20, whatever, 1,000 people.
No, still doing weird stuff. Sorry, still doing weird stuff. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, go for it. Okay, sorry. Do you know what? It's like we're going to get grabbled one way or the other. So Anthony is going to literally reiterate about some of the things that went down at Trafalgar Square and how the police used a Section 3 cordon, which they said was in direct line with the breach of coronavirus regs, where we saw a violation of their oath and such. So realistically speaking, that is now a continuation on to what's happened over the last few times that people have gone out onto the streets. He himself has got some first-hand experience. Yeah, it says device is not connected. Okay, add to stream. Here we go. Hopefully your mic's good now. You good?
I don't know. You tell me.
Hopefully. Go on, start talking and hopefully everything will be blessed.
Okay, so 26th of September, there were like 25, 30,000 people, whatever it was. And basically the police didn't like it. So what they decided to do was they were given the command by gold or silver command to basically use Section 3 force against the protesters that were not rioting, they were not violent, they were otherwise in good spirits, singing, hugging, doing all the good things, generally being peaceful. There might have been pockets of violence somewhere caused by deliberate, intentional people that were there to cause trouble, but the protest itself, the protesting, the protesters, were not violent. But the police were given the authority to use Section 3 force, which is very limited in law, and they can't use it unless it's exceptional circumstances. And they were served a stop notice because basically they can't do it unless it's limited circumstances in which they can apply force. And to be fair to them, they didn't. This weekend they didn't. They changed the position. And rather than apply force against everybody indiscriminately, this time anybody that was on the microphone speaking out in any way was deemed in their opinion, as organisers or leaders, and therefore would attract a £10,000 fine. So if anybody spoke, they were literally going to, 10 of them are going to come in, take you away, a bit like the doctor on the 26th. He got bundled into the back of a police van. That was what you were going to get this weekend. Now, at the end of the day, the bottom line is this: Article 10 permits the expression. You're allowed to use lawful expression. There's no crime in expressing your opinions. It's a direct violation of your freedom to express your opinions, be it positive or negative. It's a direct violation of those. Now, the reality is they take you out of the picture. They let you go again a few hours later, but you miss all the entertainment or the protest or the march or whatever you want to call it. You miss all that. But it marks a distinct change in the position of the police. Now, obviously, since then, Boris has been on TV and he's been given all these localised regional rules. Obviously, the city of Liverpool or Merseyside has been given the highest and most stringent. And I think Nottingham's up there as well. And there's a few other pockets of areas. And this changes things a little bit because they're allowed to curtail our civil rights whilst there's supposed to be a health pandemic going on. But obviously the curtailment's got to be proportionate, it's got to be necessary, and it's got to be lawful. Well, they're going to get away with proportionate now because they're only picking on certain areas, aren't they? They're only picking on like Liverpool or Nottingham, for instance, and they're not picking on the whole country as a whole. So now we're seeing that the government are like changing their approach significantly, and this directly affects the way that you're allowed to protest, because you're not going to get away with protesting in Liverpool because they can probably satisfy the proportionality test now. They could probably satisfy the lawfulness test. Whether they could satisfy the necessary part, I'm not a doctor, neither are you, neither are we. We can't say whether they'll satisfy the necessary bit, but it seems like the WHO have changed their position now and said that lockdown should be not considered because it's causing more damage than it is good. There's too many people that are suffering with neglect of like treatments and services and drugs and all that kind of stuff. So there's the ancillary consequences of the lockdown outweigh the actual lockdown benefits itself. So the WHO have now reversed their position. Now, with regards to the necessity of the argument, the legal argument about protesting, that obviously heavily weighs in favour of the people that are protesting, because if the WHO are now saying lockdowns don't work, then that's big evidence against the idea that it's necessary. Secondly, you've got the what's the name of that? What's the name? The Barrington report, which is 35 doctors that are all in agreement that the long-term damages as a result of locking down things, basically it damages and punishes the poor far more than it protects the people that are ill. So again, it's massively, the 35 doctors in the Barrington report are saying that lockdowns are not good. So again, that massively goes in your favour for the argument of necessity. But I think they're going to get away with proportionality now because they're picking on certain areas that they claim are high infection areas. So they're going to satisfy the proportionality bit. But the necessary bit, that's all massively up in dispute at the moment because all the evidence is going against the state at the moment. And I'm not a doctor, but I can see that there's 35 of them that say that it's not necessary. And even the WHO are now saying it's not necessary. So is protesting still going to be okay in Liverpool? It's a bit of a gamble because you're relying on the medical profession to get you out of jail.
Depends what you're protesting for as well, as we've seen. Certain protests are allowed to go ahead for as long as it fits the agenda for whatever reason.
We saw one on Saturday. We saw Muslims being able to pray in a group prayer.
Yeah.
That was in a group more than 6, and they had that was all right.
I saw another one on Sunday as well. It's somewhere in London. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just allowed to go ahead because it was
what?
It wasn't to do with what we were talking about, basically, the lockdown or the child stuff. And that's anything apart from that, I think it seems to be able to go ahead. So
that kind of just sums it up for me. It's so hypocritical because on one hand, well, like I said, I've got a couple of videos to play. It's pretty much just summarizes the weekend. It's just from we could have picked a million accounts to show. But I've just got 2 accounts. I've got Stand Up for the Children. I've got obviously my account on Instagram, but it's just a quick summary. And then we're going to follow up with your 2 videos, because we do need to break this down and understand exactly what's going on here, because people do need to go out and carry on speaking their mind, because freedom of speech is not going to die here.
No,
it's not.
Well,
it really isn't. It can't.
no.
So I'm just going to share the screen, and I'm going to pop this link up right here. And then this here is what we're talking about here. This is the most recent one, which obviously a video of yours is on as well, Riley. And as we go through this, I'm just going to keep us up on the screen just now and mute myself.
We've had a march for children. The government has let us down again.
I am so sick to God of this, and I think in lockdown I realised more than ever, like, I had this mass awakening, like, where I was like, I have to tell people how close this is to home, because of all the kids that we have that are close around us. These perpetrators, they work in schools, they work at freaking nonsense in the MP's parliament, you know what I mean? Like, this is an absolute joke, and it's fact. And when people are in positions of power and they abuse their positions of power, it's when that we get into states that we have right now. Over, like, how many kids are going missing a year? Do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't no joke anymore, and I'm standing here knowing that what I went through as a 21-year-old girl. There's kids as young as, God knows, like, a hell of a lot younger that went through worse than what I did, and that's why I have to stand up here today. This girl's got about the Hampstead cover-up like case, and that in itself just shows this goes so deep. The Franklin cover-up, the Hampstead cover-up, you know, we just have to look.
So that's one right there for you. I'm going to come back to that stream in a second, and I'm just going to go straight over to the next one, because this one's going to bring us up to where I need to bring us back up to that one again. So just bear with me a second.
Shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
So that brings us up to speed a little bit with where this conversation's at right now. How the police treated Samantha on Oxford Street, just outside Bond Street Station, was abhorrent. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
But they were set out to do that from the start. Literally in the park, I could see them crowding around when she was talking. I received the microphone after that and said, right, as soon as I went to speak, the police just swarmed in and started trying to grab me, and they silenced me from the get-go, silenced anyone who looked half influential, so they could break up the march very easily without the instructions from the experienced people. So, yeah, they set out to break down a march for children, a peaceful march for children with children at present. It was absolutely shocking behaviour for the whole period, not just this clip. So, yeah, if you had any doubts whether you thought, oh, they're for the people or this or that, you can clearly see they're not. I wouldn't mind, but there's other protests being able to go ahead, like I mentioned before, which is really tells you what you need to know. So freedom of speech is very pick and choosy.
Oh yes, I think it's worth pointing out to people as well that this girl can be lip read. You can't really hear what she's saying because everyone's screaming and squawking, but you can lip read what she says, and she's saying, "I don't understand." And the reason why she doesn't understand is because she's expressing her lawful human right to express her dissenting opinion, or in this case, not necessarily dissenting, but nonetheless her opinion. There's no crime in going on a microphone or a walkie-talkie or a what are they called, whatever they're called, megaphone. But that's what she was basically arrested for, because in the opinion of the police, she was considered to be a leader or an organizer. Now, what's interesting is there has to be a little disclaimer here, because I'm not cool with what the claim is with regards to this girl, because she says two things. One, that she doesn't know what she was arrested and charged for, but she does know that she was charged 500 quid. Now, the two key numbers that people are getting charged or fined for is 200 quid for coronavirus regs, or 10 grand for organising. Now, you can hear the policeman saying that she's been arrested for being a leader, and that leans towards being an organiser, so it should be a 10 grand fine, but she's claiming that it's a £500 fine. Now, I'm not happy with that, because that's not a number that anybody's getting quoted for being charged or fined. It should be either 200 or 10 grand. I don't know where the 500 quids come from, so that needs a bit of pinch of salt. But the other thing is as well, because she says that I don't understand, these cops are literally arresting her for being on the megaphone, regardless of the perception. That's what the crime is, being on the megaphone. They're saying that it's because it's organising. But again, Article 10, Article 9, Article 10, Article 11 state that you're allowed to assemble in Hyde Park, you're allowed to express your opinions. They're violating that human right based on legislation, basically that legislation is not going to stand in court, because you can't violate somebody's human rights. However, she's been arrested for it, so she's been taken off the scene, and it's bang out of order. But the problem is the mainstream media are not covering this, so people aren't outraged by it. So the police are able to get away with basically unreported, undocumented, unbroadcast tyranny, because mainstream media are keeping well away. How many more arrests do we need before the mainstream media pick up on this? But if they do pick up on it, are they going to present it in the light that it's like truly?
They'll say you're an anti-masker or something like that. They'll say the lightest possible topic that they can pick and say it's that.
Yeah.
And if you are on a megaphone or speaking, it doesn't mean you're an organizer. It means you have a lot of passion about what you're speaking about. It doesn't mean anything. Loads of people have megaphones, loads of people have equipment now. People are making it, it's like the thing to have, isn't it? If you're going to protest, you have your own megaphone or you have your own equipment.
The problem is, though, most people are not au fait with the human rights, and they don't realize what they can. They know that they can do this, but when it comes to it, they don't realize how to deal with it legally, because they listen to people like me saying you've got the right to express your opinion. But when the police come and do what they do, even though what the police are doing is unlawfully legal, they then don't know how to deal with it, because they say, well, someone told me that it was okay, and it is okay, but it doesn't stop the police from doing it. So on one hand, the police shouldn't be doing it, but on the other hand, they clearly are doing it. But you need to work out, or you need to understand how that gets dealt with. So it's a case of basically tell people that, yeah, you can get this expression of your opinions, but they may still arrest you anyway. And if they do, you need to know how to deal with it. Basically, just put them in touch with me, and I'll tell them exactly how to do it. I'm doing it with some people now that have been arrested over the last few weeks, that are finally the paperwork's coming through, and we're working our way through it. But you're still going to go through a process that you need to understand how it works before you do get arrested, so that if you do get arrested, then you at least know how to deal with it. And basically, you bang your drum from day one. You got to keep banging that drum about your human rights, the freedom of association, the freedom of expression. Keep saying those words, because the police can't do what they're doing, but they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, I did find that I was trying to express these things, but when they've got it in your head that they want you out the game, they don't listen at that initial moment. If you're, because I was sort of trying to back my corner a little bit, but they weren't.
No, you're right. You're right, but the problem is when these cops are given gold or silver command instructions to then go and take out the megaphone user, they're going to do what they're told, regardless of whether it's lawful or not. They don't care about your human rights, because somebody in the office has told them that's what they need to do.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're left picking up the pieces, but you've got to be au fait with how the system works, and you just got to keep banging that drum at all times about your human rights, because they are in violation. And so back on the 26th, Gold and Silver Command were issued a stop notice, and they have stopped what they were doing now, so they've changed it. They're now going to be given another stop notice because basically they can't pick on people on megaphones or ghetto blasters or whatever the phrase is, microphones, just because they perceive that they're organisers. Again, that's a direct violation of their expression, the freedom to express.
As well, isn't it? It's not. There's no substance to it. Just because someone's got a piece of equipment, you can't label them as anything.
It's ridiculous, but the police, it's because the mainstream media are not pushing this at the minute. But you know that if they did push it, you know that they would demonize us. So it's probably better that they don't. But then again, on saying that, the police are then able to get away with bloody murder, and it's bang out of order. But
of course it is.
I'm in the position where I don't really know what to do for the best here, because we need the exposure from the mainstream media, but it needs to be the truth, and we know we're not going to get the truth. So are we better off not having it and fighting ourselves, or are we better off having it and then being labelled as like anarchists or whatever they're going to call us?
Exactly. Well, you saw on Saturday they had there was a photo in the Sun newspaper, I think, from the Children's March. It had human trafficking signs and stuff like that, and it said, "Oh, anti-maskers meet at Hyde Park" and all this. So it's they've literally putting in your face with the signs what it says and then calling it something different. So it's anyone who can't see what they're trying to do is really blinkered.
It's shocking how asleep the country is at the moment. I mean, they're taking away everything that our fathers, grandfathers, grandparents, great-grandparents worked for. They're just taking it away in the name of this virus that they've never isolated. They don't know. They can't prove that this thing even exists. They treat it like it exists, like gravity, but they can't demonstrate that it actually does exist because they've never isolated it, as far as I'm aware. Last time I looked, and of these 35 doctors in the Barrington report all state that these measures are they're not effective. I haven't read it actually, to be fair, so don't quote me on those. So it's only come out in the last day or so. I'm going to have to read through it. But the point is that whatever's going on at the moment, guys, there's so many people that are just blinkered and asleep, happily red pilling their way along through the world. And how do we beat the system? Ultimately, we've got to get everyone to wake up. And I don't know, we're going to have to start doing leaflet drops or something.
Yeah, well said. Well said. We need to get out there more, much more than we have been. But I think knowing what we're up against is definitely half the battle. You've done a short video called "Who Polices the Police" that I'm going to play for everyone now. It's just a few minutes, and then we'll come back into the conversation again.
Let's go.
Put this full screen and do that now.
I'm sure you all by now have seen this disgustingly disturbing clip of a doctor being arrested for speaking out at Hyde Park recently on the 26th of September. A guy that came over expressly for this rally, this protest, call it what you will, and he gets arrested for speaking out. We don't live in a tyrannical state. We live in a democratic society where we are allowed to express our dissenting opinions. It's governed by the Human Rights Act, Article 10 and Article 11, which you can clearly see in play right now. Here, the doctor is literally on microphone. Everybody's in good spirits until a hunter, a lion on the prairie appears, and then all of a sudden, hysterical pandemonium ensues. This isn't acceptable when the police come and pluck him out of society. The guy has committed no crime. He's not being a part of a riot. He is literally assembling, and he is expressing his dissenting opinions based on this nonsense that we understand is the corona flu. Now, this is not lawful, because even though the police have got these regulations that they believe do a certain thing, the regulations are subject to rules themselves. Here we see a girl that was giving her story at the Save Our Children protest. Without going into the merits of her story, it doesn't matter. The point is that she's on the microphone. She's clearly upset and emotional. And later on in the day, she is arrested, and by the words of the police officer, on the basis that she was perceived by the police to be a organizer or a leader. No, she was simply on the microphone expressing her lawful right to disagree, because it's part of the human rights. We're allowed to assemble and we are allowed to disagree. Okay? The law that has been imposed against these people must comply with proportionality, necessity, and lawfulness. If it does not apply with those three criteria, all of those three criteria, no matter what the law is that they believe that they're applying, it is unlawful. Who is policing the police. This is not part of a democratic society. This is tyranny, guys. The police have become fucking dickheads. Is it because the police are dickheads, or is it because they're following the instructions directly of the state? Otherwise, from what is it coming from Whitehall? Is it coming from where is this information coming from? Why are the police doing this? How many more arrests will it be before the mainstream media get on this and start arguing it from the real world position it actually is? Or will they get on it and start pushing the protesters as being whatevers? The next video I present is going to be a critical analyzation or a critical analysis of a clip from Roxanne's latest video. Roxanne caught some interesting footage, and I'm going to just show some freeze frames and ask people to analyze and interpret using their own cognition to work out what it is we're looking at. It doesn't look good for the police at the moment, but if you're on my side of this topic, you've got to be aware of what's going on around you, because they were running the gauntlet on that protest march. Literally, they had goblins either side of the bridge that they were passing. It isn't going to be a good video for the police, but if you're on my side, you've got to be aware of what's going on around you. It's not just protesting anymore, guys. Politics is at play.
Thanks so much for doing that. I hope that yourselves in the chat room that haven't seen that already have got a little bit out of that, because Anthony, you're raising point after point after point that really does need to be spoken about more. There's a lot of people that really think that because they've been slapped on the wrist by the police, they genuinely think that, well, this is too risky now. Can't go out and speak our minds. Can't just go out and do outreach work in London. Can't go out in Liverpool. Can't go out in Middlesbrough. Like, what's your rebuttal to that?
In Liverpool, I think there's an argument in Liverpool that there may be some significantly more legal positioning, because Boris is only picking on Liverpool, isn't he? He's literally saying that in Liverpool we've got a high R rate, and we're going to have to bring that down. But he's not applying it over the whole country, so he is going to get away with the proportional argument there. Again, the legal argument, the actual how necessary is it? That's going to be governed by doctors. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think that maybe there is something, or maybe there isn't something. I don't know. Sometimes the propaganda influences my perception. Most of the time, I think back and I just think everybody says that all the doctors are saying that viruses are not what we're being told, and viruses don't behave the way we're being told. They're not infectious the way we're told. They don't behave. Everything that we're being told by the critical doctors makes me think that this is not necessary. And I genuinely don't know. It's going to be something that ultimately, like, the judges are going to have to decide on based on medical opinions. And you've got a 50-50, haven't you? You've got some of the doctors saying that it's yes, some of the doctors saying it's no. I genuinely don't know, is the honest answer. If there was something, it's probably gone now. I don't think there's anything here anymore. I think we're going into the seasonal flu, on the seasonal cold period anyway. And we know we've got a 90% false positive rate. And the reality is they're going to be using the coronavirus cold as the COVID-19 killer. But ultimately, is it necessary? And I don't think it is, but they've got the proportional argument in Liverpool now. I don't think they've got the necessary bit anywhere in the country. And if you're a doctor, like the doctor in Germany that gets arrested, he's going to be the one that's going to be able to argue the necessary, the most persuasive in court. But you only need one guy to get this sorted, and then that one guy that brings down that one case on the basis of necessariness, they're all going to start falling. So you need to be a doctor, really. But obviously the German one's gone. But I still think that the whole thing's illegal. I just think it's harder to argue now because they've got the proportional argument relatively better. But that necessary argument's still there. And God knows which way that one would go.
Yeah. Well, we've got an awesome addition to the conversation this evening on the Really Woke Show. Paul, my darling, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to see you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Hello, guys.
Lovely.
So I've been listening to all you saying, and it's all wonderful, and it's all exciting, it's all brilliant. Obviously, the first time I've come on here, and obviously a bit tense, but I'm going to do the best I can to answer some of your questions that you said so far. Basically, I'm a whistleblower, so basically what I say is whistleblowing, and I've been, obviously, as my mates know, I've been doing it for quite a bit. And I've been watching everything from afar and just thinking how far I'm going to whistleblow. To answer your question, the lovely geezer who said it before about what type of environment we're in. We're in the martial law times environment. So that answers that question kind of straight away. The policies that the police are using is military tactician policies. Their policy is totally, as you saw them the other day, they formed up as a fire team the other day, right in front of us all, just before we left on the march. They formed up tactically, without sound, without command, basically on the sort of hand signal from that Indian chief inspector who nicked that girl the other day. The same one that was after.
Yeah.
With the white hat on. He's the lead man. He was the one who was in charge. And he's the one that stepped up the directive in front of someone else's comment, who videoed it actually, and said, get them, literally just get them. Get them now, sort of jobbo.
Yeah, well,
right? So basically, they're tacticians now. Yep. Key, we're on a level now as terrorist level. That's the level we're on. The same sort of level that the IRA was when they first started their peaceful protests. And when they started their peaceful protests, it turned into a bloody protest later on. So you're on the same level, and we're all on the same level, all of us on the same level, couple of levels down from being terrorists. That's why they're stepping up their game. So people need to understand that and be aware of this, so to enable them to answer their questions that they're answering now. They are being military trained, 6 months training under an operation called Operation Tempora. That training enables them to have full military training. We have like military at 6 months in step 1, or phase 1 as they call it, and another 6 months in phase 2. That's their secondary training, infantry training beforehand. Well, the police are doing 6 months training operations under Operation Tempora, and it's happening up in Eastleigh and Catterick and all that sort of, not in Catterick, in Andover, where they do this training all the time on a certain sort of run, and they get full tactics. And the same belt, the military are getting full tactics in policing. So they have, they have full powers of arrests. And they do this on a 6 month rotation. My regiment's been through it, other regiments go through it, and it becomes a normalization since 2014. Now, in a place called Eastleigh, they're doing a tri-service factor training. So the police do the fire services job and the ambulance's job, and the ambulance does the police and the fire service, and they all have each other's powers of arrest and obviously capabilities to give first aid and put out fires. They've done that in Eastleigh in 2014, and it went to another location and done it there as well. They want this to happen all over, and generally under the admittance that they've got no manpower, they're going to have a quad service factor where all three can do each other's jobs around the entire country. Once that's successful, which it is, they're going to step up to a quad service, which is a force service with the army in play, and then the army in control of the entire lot of it, all of it. And the commander in charge of all of it is the guy, which I keep telling, is in Whitehall, not number 10. Stop going to number bloody 10 when the guy is over the road who's in charge of army intelligence, MI5, MI6, all the rest of those clandestine societies. And again, he's in charge of this home invasion on Britain under the hearts and minds process. We've been using this in the military for years. Britain's never had a martial law process ever. America has, since obviously the Independence War. So they had it, and they're used to the army being on the streets. So how do you get the army on the streets in Britain when Britain's not used to it, because we are a human rights society? I'll tell you how they did it. They did it by the hearts and mind. They told you to walk yourself indoors, you to lock yourself down, you to be scared of a virus. That's how they won you over, by winning you into martial law process. The second way they did it and fooled you that the army's not on the streets is by not telling you that the army is already on the streets, because they are the policemen. The policemen are the new territorial army. They didn't disband the name. The TA, the territorial army, is the police force. The regular army is the reservist, who were the TA. Us old regulars are the trainers of both of them and the spearhead group for both of them. In other words, our command leads both of them when it comes to the process of going to war, or in this case, World War III, on the rights of the people in Britain or the rights of the people around the world. Now, they're all in command with each other because the psychological warfare team and the media operation warfare team are in the control of all the media operation and the psychological attacks, as they did in World War I, when they told you and left flyers from the postman telling you to lock up your bikes, to lock up your doors, to take down the signs of Britain because the Germans are coming. Where they've done the same again. The psyop team and the lead op team are working with all the civilian agencies and guiding this attack on the people's rights. Now, I've worked for the media and psyop team, so I know exactly how they work. They're nothing special. Lead command by a major, lead second in command probably a sergeant, a corporal, and a private. All we do is throw out flyers and we make up things to do to go on the flyers. Now, every single country has got one of these teams. Same team. I've met them all in Kosovo. Swedback, Norback, and the Americans, they've all got one. So this is what they're doing around the world. They got talk to each other around the world, and they decide how they attack their own countries together as one. All they do is come up with one flyer, one training program, and they change the obviously language. That's it. People need to wake up and realize this. That's how they're running the show. Full-blown military. Police are the military that you're waiting for to come on the streets. Stop waiting. They're already here. And the military, the regular army, reason why they disbanded the regular army, just one more, the reason why they disbanded the regular army, because the regular army never, ever beat up the citizens. Never. They would actually jump in front of the police and the citizens for our own safety and disband them both of us. So they counteracted this by getting rid of all those soldiers back in 2010, right through to 2014, tranche 1, 2, 3, and 4, all the old people on the old code of training, which was the Carter Alpha training, which is the rules of engagement. They got rid of them all specifically for this moment, because I knew since 2001 that martial law was coming in 2018. It was in the same manuscript, planned invasion to Iraq document that was leading us into Iraq in 2003. They then turned around and got rid of us, anyone that would resist, and got rid of us. So then brought in the TA, the reservists, who were just people in the shops that would be like Fight Club specials, just like on the movie Fight Club. They'd be like Fight Club specials, ready to do as they're told. Bring in the police, who are sell their souls to the devils or sell their souls to anybody to get up the chain of command or to just do as they're told. That's what they did with the regulars. And also they got the French to come amalgamate with one of our regiments. So they have the powers to walk on our streets right now. They're allowed to come over and they're going to swap us over, put the regulars over there, put the French army on our streets. So there'll be a language barrier and it'll be step up more control from obviously the clan society, or I call him the brigadier. Watch Nanny Mac3. I keep telling everyone, watch Nanny Mac3 #2, The Big Bang Theory. There's a character in there that's played when Ewan McGregor gets lost. The kids go to this character to ask him to find their dad. That's the character running the show. If you realize that, you've got the whole ball bag. Once you realize that we, as a crowd, have to get militarized ourselves, I'll help in that, and do their tactics, like I explained to someone earlier, do their little bit of tactics, do things in silence to diffuse their tactics. That's how you can win.
Yeah. It's not easy when they've got guns, though.
To there. So it's not the guns you've got to be frightened of. It's not the guns. It's the person using the guns.
Yeah,
what did I just say to you a minute ago? The army will be outside.
Yeah, exactly. That's so much. I agree with you on that one there, Tomo. Thank you for that. I think we've got a little bit of a delay. We might have a little bit delay on the sound and the audio. So just bear with us. If we sound like we're talking over each other, there just might be a little bit of a delay. But I exactly have been saying that same thing myself for the last few weeks. I feel like if you see military at this point, they're going to be there for your protection, not to do what the police are doing at the moment.
Or to give you a test at your door, which we've seen in some places,
well, that's
which
another
is
thing.
not ideal. But
yeah, but to be fair though,
that's a different thing.
They were the police.
Say that again, Anthony.
No, the
military were the
yeah,
police.
like you said.
Sorry, go
Yes.
man. Go on.
You know, the military they're seeing with coronavirus testing, they're just there normally. They're just there because they're the regulars ain't got a job. They're bored. So what they've done with the regulars is they made them build a Nightingale hospital, which I was involved in as well. They built the Nightingale hospitals. They've been with all the medical side from the beginning. So stop fearing that as well. In there from the beginning. That's their job. Now, because they got no job at the moment, they've finished training the police, and the police are training with individual regiments. Just one regiment trains police and goes with that police all the time. So since most of them ain't got a job, they've given them the job to just guard the NHS. That's all. There's nothing spooky about that. They're more scared than you are. But like I said, they're regular soldiers on the card alpha, not the TA or not the police who doesn't have a card alpha. I remember back in 2013, they got rid of the card alpha from the army, and they said they were going to make a new one, which made me spark my memory to think, friggin' hell, if you're doing away with a fundamental card alpha and doing a new one, that means you're going to turn into something like, well, the reservists into police force, and it's going to be mass. Because the one thing that was all about the army, we were peacekeepers. We weren't like the Americans. The American army are, I can say it to their faces, I've been shot at 5 times by them. They're useless, atrocity killers. But British soldiers are peacekeepers. Stop being afraid of them. We've always been peacekeepers. We're damn good at it. We've done it in Ireland. We kept the Orange men from killing the freaking IRA. We kept the IRA from killing the Orange men. We've always been damn good at it. And this is what the government knows. They know that we won't turn against our people. So they've made a manifesto to ready for this. So they can then say, right, you're not going to turn against the people. Go to France. Ta-da.
There you go. Thank you for that, Tomo. There's a lot of people in the chat room that are putting their 2 cents worth in. There's a lot of people that are massively resonating with a lot of things that you're saying. And there's a lot of people that have got in contact with the show this week, expressing their kind of fears about going out onto the streets, given what's happened over the last few days. The gentleman down here, Sleeping Warrior, he has put together a few minutes of a video, which hopefully you'll be able to see as well when I share the screen. So Anthony, if it's all right with you, we're going to just share the video of yours saying, obviously, someone needs to look at this. And then
go.
a bit of discourse after that. So hopefully everyone will see and hear this as I play it. With a bit of luck, here we go.
Take a look at Roxanne's latest video. She covered the Save Our Children UK march at the weekend over in Hyde Park. And she's captured some astonishingly interesting footage. Do check the description box for the original link in the video. Do go over and like, comment, share, subscribe to her channel, because it's really worth it. This is gold. We've all got our political positions. We think this, we think that, we think the other. Some people don't agree with us. That's fine. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play a 60-second segment from her latest work. And then I'm going to rewind it, and we're going to look at a couple of freeze frames. And we're going to look at what's going on in the background that's not in the foreground and obvious straight away. And then we're going to look at what the interpretations are. Hold on, because this is going to be an eye-opener. But before we do, let's consider some words from Roxanne before the events took place. And let's see whether or not she captures exactly what she said she's going to do. This is brilliant. Let's see what happens.
We're going to bring you as much truth and transparency on today's events as possible. We're arriving here for the Save Our Children, Stand Up for Our Children. an eyes wide open march today from Hyde Park to BBC.
Save our children! 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 If we get stopped, we leave room for the BBC. Save our children! Save our children! Save our children! Save our children! This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. Come on. Save our children! Save our children!
Adam, we're going to march up.
Now, I don't know what you saw there, but I saw what looked like a little bit of momentary confusion as to which way they're going, followed by a correction and then a continuance on that path, because that is where they're going. But there's a little innocent pan to the left, and I want to focus on the pan to the left because it looks to me like they're being watched from predators that happen to be wearing police uniforms. It looks like they're about to be ambushed. Let's rewind it and take it again, but in super slow-mo, and we'll just focus on a freeze frame and we'll just look at it and go, how should we interpret this behavior? I'd love to know what the justification is here, because these are clearly police people. What is going on here?
Save our children! 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 Save our children!
If we get stopped, we leave room for the BBC.
Save our children! Save our children! Save our children! Save our children! This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. Come on. Save our children! Save our children!
Adam, we're going to march up.
Okay, I've had to do some editing to slow this down and zoom it in so you can see what's going on here. But let's hold this picture and look at this picture critically to work out what the fuck this is, what's going on here. We see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masked, hoodied men, all in black, looking like some out of counter-terrorist unit or Antifa or otherwise thugs. But they're being chaperoned by uniformed police officers. What's the what's their purpose for being there? What is their intention? And why are they looking as though there's something's gone wrong? Were they expecting the protest march to go past? What are these people doing? They don't have any lawful reason to be there, because it looks like they're purely intent on causing trouble. Now, this creates two problems. One, it looks like the police are deliberately putting planted people in there deliberately to cause trouble. But two, if you're a protester on the march, these are the people that we've got to be well aware of. These are the scumbags that are trying to plant a riot to make it look like peaceful protesters are causing trouble. The police are manipulating the scenario. They are trying to make rioters out of protesters. They are trying to badden and blacken the names of people that are protesting for their civil rights not to be abused in this instance. This could just as easily be people protesting over the COVID restrictions, or it could be people protesting about other things that are of a political nature that the state does not want you to know about. This is fantastic journalism. I'm sure she caught this totally unintentionally, but nonetheless, what's the interpretation? I don't accept that this is anything to do with correct policing at all. What's going on? We need to know why these people are all in black masks, all in black attire, and they look like they're about to ambush this organized protest, or whatever you want to call it, march, whatever. This is not part of a democratic society. This looks like it's police infiltration. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Agreed.
You're on mute, Roxanne.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Tomo?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what they're doing. They wanted a race war there. Yeah, they wanted a race war there. They wanted us to go in there. So they thought we were going to go in their direction. These guys were going to they thought we were going to kick off with them and start a fight, probably just right there and then, right in front of the entire procession of Muslim prayers who were praying at the time. They were on their mats and on their knees when we walked past. I saw that all with my own eyes.
Correct.
And I figured out the same thing. At the end of the day, they had full-blown security. They had full-blown security from the police, let alone SIA security. And then those people there are definitely they were looking to kick off like Millwall fucks. They were looking to try and kick off something in a way to make it look like we were causing a race war. And that's exactly, the guy's right. That's exactly what was happening. And they are definitely 100%.
What the thing probably would have said would be anti-maskers start a fight, or
The best argument I heard against it was that it was private security employed by the police. But the problem with that is that if they are private security, I mean, it does look like the guy in the front middle looks like he might have an ID badge on him, or it looks like it could be a camera. But whatever, if these are private security, right? Why are they moving away from the zone that they're protecting? Because security guards protect an area, a perimeter. They're not interested in what we're doing. The police may be, but these people, these private security guards, they don't give a shit what we're doing as long as we don't go in there, right? Now, it looks like we might have been going in there initially by accident maybe or whatever, but nonetheless, these guys wouldn't come away from the post.
Say that again, darling.
These guys wouldn't come away from
Well,
their
they're out
post.
of work. Some of the private police, that was brilliant. He's right, but these guys are probably off-duty policemen. You remember, most of the SIA guys were off-duty policemen anyway. And most of the doormen used to be off-duty policemen back in the old days. So these guys are probably still working police, and they're probably just off-duty for that main event there. That event got so much policing and so much good policing, it made me wonder what's going on as well.
I honestly don't know what's going on here. I think that there might be some kind of private
and
security.
Also, if you're not aware of, one of my Muslim mates,
all right, we've got a lag.
Yeah,
It's
one of
okay.
my Muslim mates has said that most of he's strange. He found it strange. Yeah, one of my Muslim mates have told me that he goes into the church, well, into the mosque nowadays, and he's surprised that all the mosque leaders are conforming to this COVID, and they completely done the 360, and all now preaching the COVID laws and stuff like that and conforming into it. And he's kind of shocked because at first he thought these people would be die hard on our side. And he said it's strange, every single mosque he's gone to is doing this. And then lo and behold, we see a whole mosque near enough in front of Marble Arch. So there's something going on, whether there's an infiltration in the mosques or whether they've all conformed because, I don't know, the good old-fashioned payoff. Who knows? Yeah. But what I'm saying is that's a deliberate, they thought they were going to look like they were going to kick off with us straight away and make us be the bad guys. Definitely. Because the police are on board with them and not us.
Yeah, because otherwise, why would they allow, with the restrictions that are going on, why would they allow
100%.
things going on, whatever the weather, whatever it was, it should be irrelevant. If we're not allowed to do that, why is anyone else allowed to do anything else?
And you just said it, Wesley. But you just said it, Wesley.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said it. Why were they allowed to have 6 people beside each other, all on prayer mats right beside each other, and we weren't allowed?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Because they don't
it's
like
kind
what
of breaking the Equal Diversity Act, really, isn't it?
Anyone else talking about.
Hey, Tomo, do us a favour. Knock off your webcam so that I think it might be a bandwidth issue with yourself. That might.
We've got a massive time delay with you, Tomo. It's like you're in Australia and we've got like a 10-second delay with the sound or audio or something. So maybe if you can drop out and come back in again, if you can like disconnect and then jump back in again with that link, hopefully it will rectify itself if that's okay. Only because it's incredibly difficult to try and work with the time delay. Sorry to everyone watching. We're doing our best. Thanks, Tomo, darling. Right, so hopefully when he comes back that time, because that's a massive time delay. I was trying to work alongside that, but it was really difficult to work with there. So we brought you up to speed with what's going on just now. And this
not yet though.
No,
there is something else that needs to be pointed out. On the 26th in Trafalgar Square, the permission for the protest that we don't need, but the permission that the police think that we need, was revoked by that Commander Adi Adilkhan on the basis that the social distancing wasn't being complied with because people weren't able to comply with the 2-meter rule. So on that basis, Section 3 force was used against protesters. And basically the horses all went in and the cavalry went in and basically decimated the whole protest. Now, that was the legal basis that he used to argue for why force was used on the 26th. But if you notice when Jezza did his outside 10 Downing Street thing, everybody was failing to keep the distance there. And it's interesting to notice that on the 26th, that was the reason to dismantle the protest. But with Jezza outside Downing Street, even though the same rule was in play, it wasn't used to disperse the crowds. So that wasn't the flavour of the month now. So that tells you that on the 26th, that authority to use force must be wrong because it wasn't given this time when they were doing the same offence outside Downing Street. So that shows you that what they did on the 26th was unlawful because they didn't do it this time. It's like that's out of fashion now.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it's at.
Yeah, definitely. They've just shown that they're not for the people. They're even with women and children present. I think they actually got a threat as well. The Liverpool lot come down, Save Our Children, got a threat before they left from the police saying you're going to get a heavy-handed reception. I would advise you not to make the journey and all this. And this is literally a coach full of women and children, bar maybe two or three blokes. Yeah. So that shows you where we're at really with the fear-mongering, the threats, the force they're showing. It reminded me of like Lord of the Rings, you know, the orcs. They're coming out as soon as I put the mic to my lips, they're like all steaming in, like, oh, it's unbelievable.
It's true.
Like no emotion, no reason, no. And there was like we saw people trying to put their story out there. It was a bit of a sensitive topic. I said to them, look, show some respect. At least wait for her to finish speaking. And they just weren't having it. Yeah. But if you were talking about something that fits the agenda of whatever, something they're not that bothered about being spoken about, something they make a GIF on Instagram about, or something like whatever we see, which fits the bill, then it's not allowed to happen. Yeah. Categorically. So you really need to start thinking why that is and why certain why would one person allowed to be doing something and the other person can't?
Well, that's something that we have got a contrast on this evening, if it's all right with you guys. Anthony, if there's anything else you want to raise just before I bring up the next thing, because we do need to show a balanced opposing view of what's happened over the weekend in contrast across the country, because there's been a massive amount of efforts from amazing amount of people across the country, right down to Exeter, across to Cardiff, right up to I think it was Nottingham as well. There was a good few places across the country that did an incredible amount of effort over the weekend, getting this truth out to a lot of people, right along the streets, doing a march, a rally type of situation where people are getting up on the mic. And I'd really like to shine a light on that, if that's okay with everyone, because I think it's a good contrast in consideration to what we were up against in London. As I know personally, a lot of people that made a pilgrimage from London down to Exeter, and they also made a pilgrimage from London to Cardiff as well, which in my mind is no different from people going from Liverpool to London. It's the same but different. So without further ado,
well done to everyone.
Exactly. Without further ado, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share the audio, and I'm just going to bring you up to speed with Stand Up Bristol and the lovely Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren and I'm representing Stand Up Devon today. I just want to start off by saying how...
That's my fault. What have I done?
Stop the mic. Meow. How amazing it is to see all different races, religions, ages.
Oh, come on. 10 batteries.
Here. All uniting today. It's also amazing to see so many beautiful faces without muzzle. So I'm not used to speaking, so I thought I'd better write it down, otherwise you'll get a load of rubbish, not gonna lie. So at the beginning of all this, I hold my hands up, I believe the mainstream narrative, I obsessively washed my hands, did my family shopping, I even made my fiance take all his clothes off when he got home. No, not like that. It's just so I could put them in the wash anyway. After about a week of falling for it, one morning I woke up, quite literally, and said to my family, I feel like we are being lied to. This was my gut telling me this. We all have our gut instinct. It's Mother Nature's way of giving us our natural defense mechanism that we all should use and trust. It will never fail you. That night, I started to research and go down the rabbit hole. I very quickly learned that the whole thing was as truthful as the 9/11 and the moon landing's official narrative. What has followed on from this for the past 7 months for a virus that has never to this day been isolated or purified to prove its existence is nothing but tyranny and a trespass on we, the people. We have a PCR test, not testing for COVID-19, but testing for coronavirus antibodies, which we all have, and there are many of them. Even the man who made the test has stated multiple times the test should not be being used for what it is. We are in week 9 of mandatory masks, and the numbers are apparently rising. There are 2 possible explanations for this. Masks are not effective, or masks are making it worse. Which is it? Either way, they're completely ineffective, and it's purely for control. Both, yeah. We have seen countless celebrities get diagnosed with the virus. We have seen the most 2 guarded men in the UK catch it. The liar of liars, Mr. Bojo Boris Johnson. Liar. And Prince Charles. How convenient, just when people wasn't listening to the orders. Lots of people ask me why. Why would they want to do this? There's many reasons why, but the main ones are depopulation and control. The 1% have wanted to depopulate the world for ages. They see us as useless food eaters. You've only got to look into Agenda 21 and 30, and the Georgia Guidestones is all there to see. Prince Philip once said if he was reincarnated, he would come back as a deadly virus. Yeah. I know. Our elderly have been locked up in care, my nan being one of them, not being able to touch loved ones now for 7 months. Family aren't even allowed in the building, yet it's okay for any member of staff to touch them and go out that evening on the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. What's the difference? We was told the lockdown would be for 2 weeks to flatten the curve, to protect the elderly, yet the elderly they claim to want to protect have all had blanket DNRs. More have died from not getting their regular medication from doctors not entering the homes than any so-called virus. We now live in a world where breathing freely is seen as selfish. Unsocial distancing is a way to survive. Wearing muzzles is the norm. Everything we've ever known has been taken away. Our human connection, the joy of getting married, the right to attend someone's funeral, celebrating a birthday or even singing happy birthday, exploring the world and meeting new people, the list goes on and on. We're in the 7 stages of grief. We're grieving the world that once had so much freedom in that we all took for granted. Very soon, it's just a mask will turn into, it's just a vaccine. The unlicensed vaccine that will do God knows what to us and is be ready to roll out any day now. A woman bears a child for 9 months, so we know it has not been tested on the effects on pregnant women, for one. And how can they make a vaccine for a virus they have never isolated? It's all lies. Everything we have ever known is a lie. The virus is engineered. The pandemic is engineered. The need for a vaccine is engineered. The race wars are engineered. The weather and food is engineered. The news is engineered. And in Lauren's word, the world is a stage. The world is a stage. The world is a stage. But no more. We the people will put an end to this tyranny. The time is now to unite and fight for our freedom and our children. Please all turn around and give the people next to you a hug. We're humans and we will act like them. With love and compassion. We are human beings. Yeah! Woo-hoo! Love and freedom! Woo!
Massive shout out to the lovely girlie Lauren.
Well done, Lauren. Amazing.
Stand Up Bristol. They did a massive effort
Both
over the
Laurens.
weekend. Yeah, both Lauren.
Yeah, both
and the
Laurens.
whole that was out there.
Yeah.
They did amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's efforts like this that are in a massive contrast to what happened over the weekend. I've also got one more video that I'd like to play from, I believe it was Cardiff. So shout out to all those in Cardiff. And I believe
Hey, Nick! This is one of the most incredible guys in the UK at the moment, guys. Nath, our Nath, standing up for your rights, your freedoms, your health, and your fucking lives. Wake up, people. Come on, we need to stand together. We need to get hundreds, if not millions of people to stand with us in the UK to take back our lands. Freedom! 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 Do not complain, guys. Idiots! You're indoctrinated so far. Stop watching the TV.
Oh yeah! Something's not right, guys. It smells fishy. Then investigate it. Look into it. So get your phones, guys. Live stream it. Take videos. Take photographs. We're going back to the Senate. If you want some information, you want to leave us, just come and ask one of us. We've all got different opinions. We've all got different perspectives in the world. What? Together, collectively, we can understand the narrative. We brainwashed by the mainstream media, by the narrative, the radio.
Hello, babes.
Look at different angles of this situation. But it's so-called science. It's never been about a
Beautiful
virus.
day, guys, in Cardiff.
The universe is on our side.
Yes, the universe is on our side. The laws are on our side, and spirits are on our side. We need the people to be on our side as well, guys. I know, that's the problem with these matches.
We are the people!
We are the power! We are the 99%!
We are the people! We are the power!
We are the 99%! Well, we have now emerged back to the Welsh Parliament, guys, the Welsh Assembly, the Senate, here in Cardiff in the United Kingdom. There was a really good turnout today, guys. I must be...
So that was Exeter and Cardiff on the same day that we were in London, okay, and the Sunday. They did 2 days. They did Exeter on the Saturday and they did Cardiff on the Sunday.
Roxanne, I've got to ask a question.
Really good. Well done to both events. Yeah, very good.
Go on, darling, go for it.
Did Lauren get that microphone from your tech cupboard?
Stop taking the mick, mate. Okay, listen, our tech's on point. Okay, we don't turn up with dodgy mics, do we?
No.
Have we ever turned up with a dodgy mic?
It might
Ever?
break from time to time with
Possibly.
all the commotion that
But
we
yeah,
suffer.
that was not part of our mic setup. That we
No.
cannot take any responsibility for those mic situations that was going on. But that's probably why there was a mic situation, because we weren't involved in the mic situation.
Yeah.
My excuse. That's one I'm going to use, and I'm going to stick to that. But yeah, no, they did ace, didn't they? They really did. And apparently, Lauren had to make a quick run for it, a bit like Laurie. She had to make a quick dash for it. And she stayed on the right side of the law.
When you got to go, you got to go. You know what I mean? I had a similar situation on Saturday. I'm sure a lot of people did, but it's we can't let it scare us.
Shout out to Tomo, because we done a Jason Bourne and he had all that weight on his back as well.
Mate,
that was literally like
Tomo's tuck shop. He had a bag on him. I've never felt nothing like it. It was like he had a fridge freezer in his bag, or a washing machine or something.
Literally, I kid you not, everyone. It was weighty, to say the least. I tried to do about 5 paces in it, Tomo. I couldn't do nothing, mate. I couldn't do nothing.
Fair play. Fair play for running without on your back.
Oh wait, now we've gone from a delay to the fact that we can't hear you at all, babe. It's like it's muted altogether. I don't know. We're getting grabbled. Gutted. Okay. Oh wait, now it's on mute. Now it's off mute. Can we hear you? No, we're getting grabbled. Well, this is one thing. Yeah, we're unable to hear you, my darling, for some reason. Something.
Knock your camera off.
Might be. Yeah. This is something that Noel's had massive experience with. We regularly, it's like they grabble us specifically. I'm not quite sure why, but we just get grabbled for fun sometimes. I don't know what that's all about.
Well,
What's worse though is
very much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Roxanne, explain the super mute situation that we have.
That happened when I went on TFR as well. So much so I had to share my screen because I thought people were going to think I was talking waffle. But yeah, sometimes my mic goes on super mute and it just does crazy stuff. Like it fights me. Do you remember that time I was trying to turn it up? It was like, no. I was like, yes, no.
Yeah, that's not the microphone fighting you. That's somebody that's in control, that's watching you, that's deliberately because that's one of the things that like they do. They deliberately take the piss.
Yeah, remember that time we had to write a letter to them saying,
yeah, we put it on Microsoft Word and said, "We know you're watching us. Leave us alone, you morons."
And they were like, oh, trying to fly off. But yeah, honestly, sorry about the technical issues as we've gone through this evening, but we have tried to bring you up to speed with everything that's happened over the last few days across the country. Obviously, as you can see, Noel's not joining us from Malta this evening because he's traversing across Europe. And a lot of you in the chat room have gone out yourselves over the last few weeks as well, in different locations across the UK and Europe. I know you got pals that are over in Europe as well just now, haven't you?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people going to a lot of things at the moment and trying to do their best, doing the best they can with the tools they've got. Where are we with regards to the state of play of things to proceed forward to the route of expressing our freedom of speech, civil liberties, all the rest of it? You know, I know it's a bit of a complicated question, but do we have a simple answer?
We're obviously being outnumbered at the minute, aren't we? So you're running the gauntlet. The reality is you've got to be prepared to be arrested and lose your liberty, to be then probably released without charge, but nonetheless to get your DNA, your fingerprints and all your profiles that they're after. Because the reality is you are dicing with death at the moment by running the gauntlet. How long is this going to be for? God only knows. if you do get arrested, make sure people know that like the way to deal with it, if you're not sure, is to come to me and I'll tell you how to do it. Because there's a back door that people don't realize is there, and you've got to know that it's there and know how to walk through it. But then once you walk through it, it's a lot easier. But if you don't know that it's there and you don't walk through it, then you're going to get convicted. So there's a way to deal with being arrested, and if you do get charged, there's a way to deal with it. But you got to know that it's there. So be prepared to get arrested. But obviously, don't get arrested. Run. That's what you need to do. Run from these people because they're criminals. But
swerve it. The best thing to do is not engage at all. When you contract with them and try and talk to them, that's when they get you. When they say we need to get your details, say, well, I don't need you to get my details. See you later. Or don't even say that. Just go. Just don't hang around. Keep moving. Don't stay still for too long. And yeah, that's what you need to do. Well, I managed it. And yeah,
Tom says in chat, 3 children confirmed died from mask wearing. I'd love to see a citation for that. That'd be interesting.
I would like to see it. Well, it's a terrible news, and I'm very gutted to hear that. But I haven't heard about that.
I've also heard that the CDC have said that you're more likely to get this if you wear a mask as well. So that kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Well, they don't know whether they're batting or bowling, to be honest, do they? 1 minute it's one thing, one next thing is another thing. Like,
this is true. This is true, guys. I've got a message here. Call-out section, and this is something that I'd love to promote. Anyone that's watching now or on a replay, please get in touch with us at thereallywokeshow.com. You can contact me at Roxanne at thereallywokeshow.com. You can go through Instagram. You can send me a direct message. If you have me on Skype, you can send me a Skype message. If you have me on Facebook, you can send me a messenger. You can send me a WhatsApp if you have an 079 for me. And yeah, you can basically send me a video or a voice note. You can be as specific or as anon as you want, but it's about getting your message heard, saying what you're most passionate about at the moment. And I've had a lovely message from this lovely lady, and I will put a link for her social media in the description afterwards. But yeah, just have a listen to this if possible. We'll pop it up to the mic.
Hi Roxanne, just a little voice note for the show. I just wanted to tell the audience that I work in schools and I'm seeing day in and day out young people are really, really suffering with their mental health. The way they're being forced to wear masks when they leave the classroom, the way that they don't have to when they sit down. They're so confused with everything that's going on and they're scared. I've seen a spike in mental health issues. I mean, CAMS are saying there's a 200% increase in referrals. We're seeing suicide rates go through the roof. Self-harm has spiked massively because these young people are really, really suffering with everything that they're having to deal with. They're scared. They're scared because they're being told things from so many different sources that they don't know who to believe anymore. So I'm trying to help wake them up. I'm trying to answer questions. I'm trying to do live sessions where we talk openly about it, and just trying to wake that next generation up. It's massively important to me.
Thank you so much for that. I will put a link for her lovely description and her social media in the description after, so you can see what she's all about on social media. As I said, I will keep these messages anon or as specific as you want. That's up for you to stipulate when you send me the message in the first place. But consider this a soapbox for you to speak about what you're most passionate about, what you really think people should be hearing just now. And then you can feel like in some way, even if you're not going out onto the streets, as I will just make a disclaimer, the lady that just sent us this message has been out on the streets pretty much more than I have over the last few months. So there is no like rhyme or reason for whether you're out on the streets or not, but it's just another way for voices to be heard. If you're watching this and you think it's only the people that are in the chat room right now and only the numbers you see on the views on this video for people that have opinions like this, and I'm here to tell you, you're sorely mistaken. There are absolutely millions of people across Earth that are speaking out against the narrative and are standing up and speaking out for what's right now. We've got a couple of people that we've spoken to over the last few weeks that have made massive pilgrimages to come and speak out about what they're passionate about. So again, if you want to get in touch with us for the call out section, please get in touch with email, Skype, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever way you want, get the message across to us and we will play it out. Thank you. So yeah, does anyone have anything to add to that? What you just heard being said there? There's a lot of mental health issues. The youth are like getting battered right and centre. I've got 2 children, 17 and 12 at the moment. And I'm not going to lie, I'm homeschooling my son, but we are dealing with a massive situation at the moment with the sixth form and her A-levels and a massive amount of uncertainty. There's already been children in her year that have committed suicide. Do you know what I mean? This is like not cool what's going on just now.
Yeah, as I said to Wesley the other day, we need to start marching on the schools. Go in a whistle and flute and a suit, and then say to this, get one of our lawyers to knock up a letter to serve to the headmasters to stop attacking our children, start getting them done for assault, ABH. If they attempt to put the stuff up the children's nose like they did the other day, like one of my CP mates, she took her child out of school straight away because her child had the sense to call her up at home and say that they're trying to put this the flu jab up her nose. And mum, luckily enough, had the mobile. She had the mobile, so she called her, ran down there, stopped what was going on, and took the kids out. And then, according to her, she got a call from the social services to ask her what her mental state was like. And she managed to tell the social service what happened, and the social service came on board on her side and said, yeah, the school was wrong for trying to do that. But that's happening a lot lately. So we need to start marching on the schools and stop all this kind of things from happening. Because I think the headmasters are getting carried away thinking that they got powers that they ain't got.
Yeah, no, and they have a duty to give a balanced opposing view as to what's going on, and that's what's causing so much anxiety in the students just now, because they feel like they almost know they're being brainwashed at the moment. They're not being given a balanced opposing view for the political situation that's going on just now, because it's a political situation, not a medical situation. This is not about COVID. This whole situation, this whole disinformation campaign that we're going through just now isn't about a medical situation.
Martial law.
Exactly.
Martial law.
It's about the systemic takedown of the old guard.
Why would they go that far out their way to give you bad information about a virus if it was really what it was? You know what I mean?
Let's be honest, the old guard were never going to go out without a fight. These people have been in control for such an incredibly long time. They never thought they were going to lose control of the situation. But now that they have, and nothing can stop this tide turning.
Well, there is something that's going to stop it, and something that I've wanted to bring up. What I've noticed since becoming involved in this, a lot of people start up in it, very open-hearted, very clean-hearted, pure-hearted, whatever you want to say. But I've noticed a certain. I'm not going to mention anyone, but everyone's guilty of it to a certain degree. People start following certain people, then it maybe goes to their head a little bit, and then it becomes a thing. Someone actually left a comment about it saying earlier groups are being divided, segregated. We're segregating ourselves in a lot of ways, because what we need to realize, all these topics that you could bring to the table are part of the same chain. The children's stuff, the COVID stuff, all of it comes interlinked by the same people. We're against the same people. But we're getting things where groups are saying, oh, our group's better than their group. Follow us, don't follow them, or don't do this, or don't at them. Or, you know, it's becoming a bit of all look at me type of thing. Not everyone, I'm not saying everyone, but it's becoming a bit more of a shit show of people that are not about themselves, but it's meant to be a selfless act, everything we're doing. And when it becomes slightly selfish and more toward one-sided towards them, or if it's a freeway event or whatever, and one person's overly emphasizing themselves, it's becoming a bit embarrassing to be involved in. We all need to go back to basics, really realize why we're here, and realize we're just normal people trying to make change. But when you turn into someone who thinks you're not a normal person because you've done a bit more than other people, you've got your face out there a little bit, who are you? You're nobody. Like, we're all nobodies. We're together, we're something. But the more people emphasize themselves, it's really taken away from the fact of why we're here. So we all need to go back to the drawing board. All the groups, whatever the topic is, I believe the only way you're going to get the Great Awakening, what we are all asking for, is all the groups to come together, whatever the topic, against the same people. All the problems that we see in this world, 99% of them come from the people that are causing all the other problems, the 1%, or whatever you want to call them, the deep state, whatever words you want to use for them. but we really need to just address who we're against and all get together, and like not nitpick on what we're talking about, or oh, I don't want to be involved because of this or that. Like you need to in some ways just forget certain things and just really remember why we're here and why you started out looking for the truth, and why you started making relationships with other people in the same way. We can't keep having vendettas against other groups or other people, or oh, they're this or they're that. Don't worry, it's all about the end goal, and nothing's bigger than the cause. So we all need to stop worrying about ourselves and come together and stop worrying about who's got more followers than who and all that. It's all bullshit. And if you are thinking about that, you need to really question yourself what you're doing, because it's not important, and nobody's.
Well, as you well know, Westy, in front of 35,000 people, I pulled up that issue because I was security on the 29th, and I pulled up in front of 35,000 people and talked about the ego thing. And I said, if you have got an ego, then you need to fuck off. Excuse the language, F off. And I did that in front of 35 me, and I pointed at the people, so I'm not going to say names. I pointed at their faces, spoke to them to all individually, and I'm in the know of everything, as you well know, being the security that I was on that day, and actually on the 26th as well. Now, that ego thing needs to think. You're going up against a military regime. Now, I'll give you the name of your.
What you look like. They don't care how many followers you've got. These people,
like I said,
lives.
I'm not here to follow egos. I'm not here to follow people. I know who I am. I'm a nobody. I'm a simple little postman in the army. I'm a simple little infantryman. I'm qualified up to sergeant major in the army. I've done every single course because I get bored easily. I've been a postman. I've been a fleet manager. I've been a DMI and motor transport instructor. But on my Facebook, I've got every single rank on my Facebook, and I rant off everything I said about the military and martial law. And if you notice the silence on my Facebook, silence speaks more than words. They don't need to say anything. Or they don't need to say, shut up, Tomo. They don't need to say nothing. Because they don't say anything, because they've all signed the Security Act. I haven't. So because I haven't signed the Security Act, I leak my shit all over the place. So now my mates won't come forward, because simple fact is, all this dissemination that I've seen, if you can't get this right and realize you're going up against a might that's been going on since 1066, if you go to the Masons Hall, that's what they call them. I'm not going to call them Illuminati. I'm not going to call them all mystical names. Masons, simple as that. You're going up against a club of people that got their stuff together, fine to a fine-tooth comb. They've been doing it for years, since the Knights Templars. You go to the Mason Hall #1, which I did the other day, and they've got the Knights Templars uniform up on their wall, nice and proud. You're going up against a couple of people that have got this fight to a fine-tooth comb. Hearts and minds. They've been doing this since day one. Winning the people over through the hearts and minds, attacking people through the psychological warfare, through the media warfare, divide and conquer since the days of the sugar trade, and obviously the so-called slave trade, but we're not going to go into that. The sugar trade, all of that been perfected by these people. Now you're going up against them. If you can't stick together to work with thy enemy, to go against thy enemy, then you've lost. Because at the end of the day,
early stage of what we're seeing, like exactly. if everyone's squabbling now, wanting to be the star of the show or whatever, or whatever,
pecking order.
Then
but
when it really gets worse, then what are people gonna do then? You know what I mean? The people that they want us to be doing that. You know what I mean? They want us to all squabble with each other and not like each other. The only way we're gonna get the 99% is with everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that means we have to use thy enemy against thy enemy. It's military tactics. It might be your enemy, he might be your friend, but buckle up. Sorry, mate, you're not my enemy at the moment. They're the enemy. So they'll work together, buckle up together, and get on with fighting against the real enemy. There's only one real enemy, and that's the governmental influence and the people that are causing this mayhem. Stop looking at the individual beside you in the next group, in the other group, or the beside you who've just had a little ruckus with as the enemy. Squash all that. Squash it all. We're not kids anymore. We're adults. Start using military tactics against military tactics. Simple. If you get that perfected, you're going to win. If you don't, you're going to lose.
Like positivity and love is the only way to outcome negativity. So you need to really use that to your advantage.
It's like you said, they've got guns. My man mentioned it earlier, and they've got guns. But so we've got voices. Go silent. Everyone stand together, club together, go silent. They ain't going to shoot against everyone who stands together as a majority. And if they do, they've shown their hands. They'll bloody their hands, just like Bloody Sunday, bloody their hands and show the world how much a disgrace they are, and then how much we need to all then gain the support to go against them. That's how the only way we're going to go forward. We can't go through all this bickering and fighting. It needs to squash, put it under the carpet, work with thy enemy to attack thy enemy.
Well said. Anthony, what's regarding our rights moving forward with the Human Rights Article 11 and whatnot?
You've got to understand that everything that Tomo's just described sounds crazy in the sense that it seems that we've got no ability to win here. It seems that we're up against a military army in the guise of like anything that you want it to describe it as, right? But ultimately, we're governed by the laws of the land through the courts. And if you assert your human rights, they pervade every single part of life. And our only redress really is through the courts. You've got to trust that court system. And it's not easy to do. It's difficult. It's weighted against the citizen. But if you know it's there and you know how to use it, then you're more likely to win than lose, because the judges hate human rights violations. They love telling the state off. Yes, you do get dodgy judges and you do get dodgy prosecutors. But most normal people that are not on the Mason side or that are in the system but not part of the Masons crew, they love telling the state to back off. So you've got to trust the legal system and hope that you get justice. We're not all going to get justice. We know that. It's not a fair system. We know that the law can be an ass because sometimes you get nasty judges. But ultimately, everything that goes on in the real world, be it army, territorial army, you name it, black uniform people that are doing stuff that's scary or whatever's going on, they're accountable in the judicial operations. And ultimately, we've got to trust that system. But which way going forward? You've got to be prepared to accept that there are going to be people that get arrested until this gets dealt with. If it ever gets dealt with, maybe we need to consider getting like a universal flyer that we can all download and then get 1,000 leaflets printed off, and then we can just go not door knocking, but delivering through doors to get the message out without having to protest. Maybe that's another way to do stuff. But we have to unite. There's thousands of us, but we just don't realize how many people there are because everything's being suppressed. But if we have the ability to communicate with just 10 other normies, and we're all doing a little bit of something, you could print 10 leaflets off yourself and post them through your neighbours outdoors and just get them to question stuff and look online and come to these types of like I mean, how difficult is it to look up the Really Woke Show? We look it up straight away, and no one knows it's there at the minute because we're suppressed to death. But if you could tell 10 people with a leaflet drop in your area, I mean, that's if we all did that, a little bit can make a real big difference. But unfortunately, we do have to put our faith in the judicial system, and it's an ass. There's no easy way around it. It's either that or bend over and let them shaft you from behind.
Cheers.
Which I'm not up for at all.
I agree with him. But then I would decide to add one bit in there. I agree with you, but do you realise you can make our own police force? That's one of the things I spoke to Roxanne the other day. Do you realise we can actually make our own police force because the police force are in company's house? And again, we could do that quite lawfully within the same law court system. I believe in going to courts, but I also believe in using the human rights properly and using their own game against them. I say my company, I want to up a charity, as I said to Roxanne the other day, and start paying for everybody's SIA license. That's one start. Second stage I want to do for the handcuff training, because the police don't own the copyright on using handcuffs. And when we see a policeman, I want to be the first to arrest one who's doing something. I might get beaten up, but I want to be the first to lawfully, to a T, say all the rights, obviously governed by them and by the human rights, before they get to beat me up. So I then lawfully arrest him properly and officially, and again take it to court and force a judge to do his job, to arrest the policeman for what he has done wrong. and to do his job and charge him and put him obviously on trial properly. So that's something I want to do. But you can still, in the meantime, force the issue of making our own police force. That's what the police are doing now. They're using security guards, like you just said before, or said in the video. They're also using the civil, they push Russian people through the police system under the Civil Rights Act rather than the Common Law Act. Now, the old common law used to be given to all policemen. That's why they were called policemen and women. They don't give the common law to all policemen anymore. They give it to the sergeants only. Like in the army, on the sergeant's course, you do all the full training and get all the full information so they can then go up the rank as obviously chief inspector, yada, 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 yada. That's what I'm saying. What's happening now with the policemen. They're only going through civil action training. So they get civil action training in training school. So they only govern themselves under civil cases, i.e. fines, blah, 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 blah. Now, what we should do is try and get our SIA license guys through this, find out where to sleep through police training, get them common law and civil action law, and then you got yourself the first stage of starting police force for the people, as in my name for my one's called the People's Police. And that's what I'm trying to get through and try and teach people to do, rather than just being defeatists and say we can't do nothing, but we actually can. Great point now is we will use the court system, we will do it lawfully, and we will beat them at their own game.
Yeah, that sounds like at least
it's been done by John Harris before he died. Bless his cotton socks.
It's currently being done by Keeley up in Norwich. She was arrested in Newcastle, arrested in Norwich. She's been given a 10 grand fine for organising. She's also been given a 200 quid fine for breaching the coronavirus regs. And I think she's also been given one for obstructing a police officer in the execution of his duty. Currently going through that right now with her. I think she's the furthest one down the line, where she's actually being charged with stuff. But we're using that system against the police now to basically assert human rights.
You can find them back.
That's what we're working on.
Everybody can find them. I've done it. Find them. You can find them. Anybody can serve a fine and go through civil courts. Anybody. Find them. And then say, serve them a fine, do the letters of introduction, the final stage, exactly how they do it, word exactly how they do it, and send the fine to them, and then take it to civil court. Enforce the court enforcers to go around their house and pay you. Do not take the police on as a whole. Take the individual. Whenever you take on anybody to court who's in a big establishment, take on the individual first. Once you win a civil case with the individual, you go for the company after and say, right, you employed him, he done wrong, the court said he's done wrong, you're now going to pay for his actions. That's the only way to win against them. Every time a policeman thinks he's a big man, I've taken on one. That's why I ended up knowing about Eastleigh. I took on one, I went to the commissioner, I got a apology, and I got a £14.99 5 check for the damage to my watch. But that wasn't the point of why I did it. Because you gave me a check, you've accepted that you've done something wrong. Because you accepted done something wrong, I could have then taken it further. But I decided to be nice and said, no, I wouldn't take it further. You can always, every time everybody goes for the big guns, go for big money. Take that individual to court for £1. Just for £1. He's going to laugh at you. He's going to make you think you're an idiot, but you know why you're doing it. You take him for £1, you win that £1 from the courts. He's now admitted liability that he was in the wrong. Go for the big guns after. That's how you take down the big guns. I've done it loads of times with other companies. It's easy to do. It's easier than you think it is. The only thing is I don't publicize my stuff. I keep my stuff to myself because it's quicker and easier to take them out without the publicity. When you start carrying publicity, that's when they start defending themselves.
That's exactly what we're going to be doing, Roxanne. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm loving this because you're both on the same page with this, Tomo. Absolutely both on the same page.
Yeah.
You're both like heat-seeking missiles with that, so that's wonderful. It's brilliant to meet like-minded people like this that are absolutely on the same page, and I hope all of you in the chat room and watching on a replay are listening and resonating with this as well, because this is what has to be done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be an easy path, but it has to be done.
Well, there's nothing easy about fighting for your future, is there? It's never going to be an easy
It's
task.
painstaking. It's long.
Big time.
Draining, emotional.
If I could, can I bring Noel into it at this point?
I went
Noel
to court.
Sorry, my darling.
It's one thing I did. I went to court. I think it was with Piers, and I watched the judge turn around and sided with Piers and avoided his ban from going into the Westminster. And that judge looked like he weren't going to uphold any of this stuff at all. So, you know, it sounded pretty good. Like you said before, some of these judges are on board, if not breaching the human rights.
Yeah, well said. Well, we've got a Brit here as well who is over in Europe just now. He currently lives in Malta. Yes, that's you, my darling, Noli. I don't know if it was me that put you on mute or if you put yourself on mute. Yeah.
I'm actually in Germany right now. But
yeah, that's right. You're not in Malta just now. You're in Germany just now. How is this all playing out in front of you as you're watching it? Obviously, you've grown up in the UK. You've lived quite a varied life, but you're having to watch this from afar. But I believe you've still got family that live over in this country. How is this for you optically as you're watching this play out over in this country?
I mean, it's been great watching, obviously, all the marches that some of you guys have either been involved in or helped organise. But particularly, it's been quite upsetting to see how far things have gotten and some of the things that have been happening, like that incident with the chip shop last week where the police were waiting outside just to fine them $1,000. And I'm seeing a lot of that similar stuff happening elsewhere where they're using the small businesses as the sort of the police forces for bullshit, because they're saying to them, unless you make people in your establishment follow the rules, you are the one who's going to pay the fines. And so they're using them to force it upon people. Now, people want to try and keep the small businesses open, are going in, being made to partake in the bullshit. Or they're deciding not to go to the small business. Either way, the higher ups win, because we're either not supporting the small businesses by not going in, or we're being forced to wear the bullshit, partake in the bullshit, give everyone that fear response by seeing us walking around with that fucking face diaper, pardon my French, you know, all the social distancing crap and whatever else. And that's playing across Europe as far as I can tell from the people I'm speaking to. Certainly I'm seeing it here in Munich, and I'm definitely seeing it in the more Maltese areas of Malta. In the foreign areas, they're obviously not getting the same news reports because it's all in Maltese. No one understands it, so they're not getting the same fear response drilled into them. But you leave my area, which is extremely multicultural, head into the Maltese areas, and people are really buying into it. That said, they're buying into it in banks. They're buying into it in small shops. They're buying into it in, I went to a lawyer's last week, and that was terrible. That was the most masky experience I've had in Malta now, until I went on the airplane, which was just horrific. And then in Munich by the airport, that was pretty unpleasant. And then as soon as I got to the country, it stopped again. As soon as you get outside of the cities, the fear kind of, it's all just about avoiding the government response. And it's hurtful to see, because I really wish there were more people standing up. I wish there were more people saying no. I wish that I wasn't the only person on the plane that said something, but it is what it is. We've got to keep on influencing people with guys like Sleep Warrior and TOMO here. Perhaps we can start to assemble some kind of system for defending ourselves from the nonsense and the people who are complicit with it. But we should try to remember that this is a spiritual war, and whilst they're the dark and we're playing the light, we're playing the same system, you know, the black and white tile system, the Boaz and the Jacqueem, the whatever they call it, the Masonic system. We might be fighting it, but we're also playing into it. We are definitely playing one side of, you know, the battery of their system, and we have to be aware of that. We can't forget that spirituality is a big part of this, and we do have to bear in mind that if we don't have faith in something greater than ourselves, that something else will rescue us, and assume that we're the only ones who can rescue ourselves, we might be playing into a trap.
Yeah, don't let negativity overtake you about anything in this situation. Try and attack it with only positivity, and I'm sure we will prosper if everyone uses that narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Noel. Honestly, I think there's a lot of people that may be tuned in this evening that might be like, okay, where's Noel from? And like, what's going on there? Is he woke? Like, is he awake? Is he down for this whole mask thing? Like, is he just on camera without a mask on, but as soon as he comes off? Can you just reiterate for the audience watching, what's your stance on things with regards to the situation?
So I have been wearing a mask in friends' establishments, small businesses that I've been going to, because there's an extremely large fine if the police or the inspectors pass by and there's someone in there without a mask on them. And that's how they've been trying to force people to comply, because it wasn't working with individuals, so they put it on the small businesses. And a lot of people which have been trying to support the small businesses since the lockdowns have eased. For the sake of my friends here in Munich, I've been putting on the mask once we enter a place. Of course, the second you sit down, you can take off the mask. In fact, I've been playing with that. And I walked through a bar earlier and I sat on every bar stool. Mask off, mask on, mask on, mask off. Just looking at people, just seeing if they realize how ridiculous this is. I saw a guy in a wheelchair earlier and I thought, he's already sat down. Why does he have to wear a mask? I actually wrote a little list of these earlier. Let me just, I may,
oh, I love a list.
Forgive me, my image may freeze. So let me just stop my camera and just quickly read you a couple of these that I wrote down.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of these you will have heard before, because a lot of people have the same questions. Obviously, if you're in a wheelchair, do you need a mask? If the virus is so deadly, why do we need a test to know if we have it? If we drop our mask on the floor, should we put it back on our face, or are floors cleaner than our own breath? Why can an official hand us a pen or touch ours or everyone else's ticket or form? And then is that not considered like a risk of infecting every single person that passes them? Why is, I don't know, Royal Rife or exosome theory never, ever discussed, despite the fact that it actually often seems more relevant than most of the stuff that's being discussed? Why does not filling out a contact tracing form at an airport endanger everyone on the aeroplane, apparently, when they already have my details in the flight manifest and booking form? Excuse me. And the only thing they acquire from me is a consent or a signature at the bottom of a piece of paper.
You literally couldn't make some of this stuff up. Like, valid points, though. Like, you've got me chuckling away with some of these things that you're putting in there, you know, because, like, do people not get it? Do not people get how ridiculous this is? Like, the CDC have even said, if you wear a mask, you're actually more likely to get this.
I know, it's ridiculous. Even like down to the playgrounds being shut for months and months. But now they've forgotten that rule because all the playgrounds are still open, but there's another situation. Right. So it's just crazy. Like, they forget what they forget. This to be a good liar, you have to have a good memory, and they keep forgetting all their lies and making up new ones. So you really need to just realize what's going on. Really.
Yeah. Are you going to ask anyone those questions?
No.
I'm going to make that list longer, and I'm going to memorize it for the next time that someone Karens me.
Oh,
because
I've had it once or twice, and they literally bark up the wrong tree. I'm like, I just cane them with about 500 things, and they're like, okay, mate, all right. I'm not aggressive. I just go bam, 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 and they're like, okay, yeah, okay, you've done me. Like, even when situations where I've had nurses or whoever come up to me like, I've seen it. I'm like, what? Influenza? What have you seen? Like, explain to me what you've seen. This worth locking the country
what do you
down.
say when people say they've got family members that died from it?
Well, I had the same thing with my nan. They said she died of COVID, and it wasn't the situation. So unfortunate to anyone that does die. I'm not saying that there's not real viruses out there or real situations where people die from pneumonia or flu or whatever the situation is. That is tragic, but is a part of life, and we need to really realize that. And like I said, if there was every illness coming up, flashing up on TV, flashing up on adverts, we'd be terrified to even move. But well, we are already, just from this situation here. Well, not us.
Well, we're not.
Some people are, yes. Some people, not us. But yeah,
it's true. It's true. There's so many comebacks for some of these arguments, because some of the arguments are ludicrous. But you know, people are having to find usable tools to go out and navigate this, because it's causing anxiety and stress.
Yeah, some of them are ridiculous.
So...
Like there was football. Some of my friends play for a football team. They said they're allowed to play football normally. Everything was like normal, but they're not allowed to get in the shower. So you're allowed to sweat all over each other and be dirty, but you're not allowed to clean up and wash what they want us to do anyway.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
You're not allowed to go in the showers together, no. No.
Help me out here. This is just as ludicrous
with soap and water.
Wear your mask on when you come into the bar, but take it off when you sit down. I'm glad you did sit in all the chairs. No, I would have probably been inclined to be doing the same, like mask on, off, on, off, on.
Well, get this. This was on the way to the bathroom, and there were, I think it was 5 urinals in a sort of semicircle. They'd closed one, left one, closed it with security tape, left one open, closed one with security tape, left one open, closed one with security tape, left one open. Now, I have, apart from you said you'd seen them in a football ground, but I've never been in the football grounds urinals. I have never seen two men use side by side urinals in my entire life. Men always distance naturally at urinals.
They're really drunk.
Unless they're really drunk. Oops, sorry, mate. But get this: there was only 2 sinks side by side, about a meter apart. They taped up one of them so everyone was using the same sink. And to beat that, they had one of them, you know, hands-free soap dispensers, but the one there didn't work. But you didn't realize that, you sort of press it and try to see how to get it to work, and then you'd realize that the one over the other sink is the one that works. So then you'd, after touching this soap dispenser, which I'm guessing every single person who went in there did, then you go over and do the other one and wash your hands. All right, you've washed your hands. But the point is, that's a single. Some people might just touch that and give up and walk out. So it's another point where it's just like, clearly this is nonsense. And at the airport
as well, look, this is what they've come out with this week. The CDC has now said you're 70% more likely to become ill from wearing a mask. Like, it seems,
can you put that on the screen?
Cover themselves with damage control left, right, and center. I've seen videos of where those masks are made as well, all barefoot in the Hendersons out in the back alleys with like toe jam and everything, with them using their toes to like pull them out of the machines and stuff. It's crazy.
So
some of them are actually quite scary.
When I was arguing with the people in the airport,
people in the mask, he gets really terrified. You know, when someone approaches you from a distance, they've got one of them big like cloth ones on, like they're sort of like a North Face, like this type of material.
Yeah.
And my son like gets scared, and he's like, it hides behind me from some of them. Well, they're just as scared as him. They jump out the way of him.
No, what were you going to say?
It's what Roxanne was saying earlier about they're backing themselves up. CDC's backing themselves up. But everyone forgotten about the TFL had the get out of jail clause. They had their get out of jail clause a long time ago when they turned around publicly said, "We recognise your eco-diversity rights," 1998 or 2010. So we recognise that people do not or cannot wear face masks for contributing factors. But that was a get out of jail clause. Cases someone like us lot sues them for dying or fainting with a mask on. They'll say, actually, we did recognise your eco-diversity right, and we did recognise possibly things can go wrong. So here is our get out of jail. They've all got get out of jail clauses. It's just some of it's in small print and some of it's in big. I mean, it's just like, yeah, but remember when coronavirus, I don't know if anyone can go back on my Facebook, but when it first came out as such, you had Piers Morgan turn around and his happy crew covered it all live then. So I captured the footage where they said that doctor, that famous doctor that he gets to dispute Piers the other day, he turned around and said logically that vitamins A and D could be one of the cures for coronavirus. Then straight after that, you had the Unilever's advert that come out. By the way, Unilever was one of the biggest funders of the Nightingale Hospital but they came out and said coronavirus could be killed by their product. So if their coronavirus, which constantly the adverts constantly on now, can be killed by their product, why do we need a vaccine? And then also the fact that the doctors now, he kind of contradicted himself and said now the vaccine in the Piers is now a diehard vaccine lover, and his doctor's a vaccine lover.
Getting grabbed
footage, which is on my Facebook site, which said they both said they believe that the vitamin A and D would be the cure. So they've contradicted themselves bare times.
Yeah, well, you don't ever hear him say go and buy a bag of oranges or anything like that, do you? You know what I mean? So it's so simple. But
they did at the beginning. They did at the beginning, but they don't do now.
Because now they're pushing the you know what,
the vaccine.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Sorry if we're having
It's all a joke of the game.
We are definitely on the lag again. No, can you let me know what you were saying about the airport? What they've been dealing with at the airport?
Well, I just want to say it's one of the things. I've got to go now. My friend's sleeping, but just obviously, I was having an argument with them in the airport in front of everyone, and they were sort of really trying to make an ass of me and embarrass me. Doing a real good job of it actually, because when I turned around, everyone just looked terrified. But as they were sort of making out that by me not filling out this paperwork, I was putting everyone else's lives in danger. I then, after being told that I could no longer board the plane in quite an aggressive tone, I calmed down. But I didn't calm down. I was physically shaken, but I sort of swallowed my ego and said, "I'm sorry. I need to go to Germany. May I have a pen?" The lady then removed one from her mouth and handed it to me. What the fuck, man? These people don't think. And
yeah,
it was. I looked around at everyone, and it didn't register with anyone. Just
giving you a kiss.
She may as well have just put one on you, mate. She may as well have literally just planted one straight on your kisser.
And I gave it back to her, and she went, "Oh, thank you."
There you go. There you go. That's madness in personification right there before your very eyes.
Some people are just loving the control side of it. Like you go into a pub, they've got the visor on, they're loving it, they're marching around like all important. You got to do that, you got to do this. It's all crazy. Like people really need to give their heads a shake and realize what they're trying to enforce and how ridiculous it is.
It's true. It's so true. My darlings, we're going to wrap up for this evening. This has been Tuesday's episode of the Really Woke Show. We've been going for just over 2 hours. I have shared the link. Go and follow Paul Tomo over on Facebook. Also, I have shared, Paul, if you would come back over onto the Really Woke Show and talk about the Survival Awareness Group. Just before we wrap up, can you tell people where they can find information about the Survival Awareness Group?
You can find it on Facebook. I've got it on Twitter, Facebook, and basically I'm trying to obviously teach everyone how to survive and how to do the next phase of doing the police forcing.
Lovely. Will you come back on and talk about that with us? Yeah.
Definitely will. Definitely will. It's been a pleasure. And it's been a pleasure meeting the rest of you. Thank you, guys. And obviously, I would like to talk with the other compadre, and obviously, we'll come up with a solution together as well. So I'll be happy to do that as well.
Wonderful. Together, we are stronger. This is where we've all got to put down the picket fences. We've got to find more ways to unite than divide. I'm sure we can put...
We don't need to segregate ourselves, because that's what they definitely want us to do. So if you are falling into that trap of negativity, like I have done at times, I'm not guilty of it. But we all need to really remember
we can beat them.
Why we're here and what we're trying to do. And the only way to do that is by doing it together.
Well said. Well said. I've shared your social media, Tomo, in the chat room. I'm going to pop it in the description after so everyone can find you on social media. And yes, please come back on the Really Woke Show and we'll delve more into the Survival Awareness Group and all of the other things that you're involved in. Because there's a lot of ways that people can get involved themselves. There's a lot of things that people can do to do their bit to help the good fight of the truth.
Even if you help one person in your day, whether it's someone who's a bit less privileged than you, someone who's begging for money on the street, someone, you're not saying you have to give them money, maybe give them a bit of advice, maybe just talk to them for a couple of minutes, that treat them like a person. There might be a reason why they're like that, and there could be someone like you could change that for them.
Correct.
So there's lots of things you can do to make this a better world. Just try and do what you can. That's all you can do.
Well said. Well said.
Agree.
My darling,
agree.
Thank you so much. My darling,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roxanne. It's been a pleasure.
Just one last thing before we go, Roxanne. Trump didn't get COVID-19, guys. He was trolling the media. Neither did Boris, no. And he didn't lose all that weight.
And nor did Idris Elba.
He's definitely been for a spray tan, though. I'll tell you that.
Well said. Neither did
and nor did Idris Elba. That was a lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's big disinformation, everyone. So if you are new to this and you've been watching, then well done for not switching off and staying tuned in. An awesome effort from all of you in the chat room as well. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening and for interacting in the chat. Thank you,
Janina. Hello,
You're
Janina.
welcome.
Love it. Hit the thumbs up, share the stream far and wide. We've been on Facebook, we've been on 2 YouTube channels this evening, and on the Really Woke website as well. So share it amongst your friends on WhatsApp, Skype, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Even text it, speak it, show it, do whatever you can. We will be back again on Thursday with a synopsis of what's going on over the next few days and the weekend. And we will be as helpful as we can with giving you as usable information as possible. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up for the night? I'm going to give it an open mic.
No, like I said, just come over to Surviving Weather Crew. I've got obviously GoFundMe set up. I've got all that set up. It'll all be broadcast to everyone. It's basically to get funding to start up a charity, 3 different charities to help hungry feeders, to set up a social food bank, and for people who can't get into shops, and basically start my new police force in, pay for everyone to have an SIA license. I'm really going on for another show to say, look, there's an end game to this, and I want to be a part of giving everyone another chance to do something else, as well as keep on fighting the fight.
Wonderful. Your link is in the chat room now for everybody. I put the link in the Facebook chat room and both the YouTube chat rooms as well. And I'm going to include it in the description after for all of you that are watching on a playback as well. Paul, my darling, hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for joining us. And Warrior, is there any...
Cheers, Wes.
Thank you, darling. Is there any final thought from you, Warrior?
Don't be afraid to express your opinions, and if you do get arrested, make sure that you bang that drum, because you've got the freedom to express your opinions and you've got the freedom to assemble. Bang that drum, because you're not...
Drum, bang your chest.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, my darling. And you? Anything you'd like to say to anyone watching?
Have a lovely sleep tonight and wake up with a very big smile tomorrow. I know there's a lot of bad stuff going on, but we really need to combat it together and smile in the face of danger. And that's it.
Perfect. Cool. So this has been the Really Woke Show on Tuesday evening. Oh, now early Wednesday morning. We'll be back at 9:30 p.m. GMT on YouTube, Facebook, and the Really Woke Show website as well at 9:30 p.m. GMT. Until then, take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Adios.